Hello, welcome back to Timeline Talk. Welcome back to All for United as well. Sorry, a little bit late. Very, very stressful half an hour, which I've explained, and I apologise for. It's entirely my fault that we're late, but we're here now. That's all that matters. Got a brilliant show for you lined up. We're going to be talking about the Glazers putting Manchester United shares on the stock, or they're making them available for fans to buy, and I think it's for the first time since they took over. We're going to be discussing whether this is a step towards becoming fan owned, whether it's just a really good PR stunt or what it means. We'll be just discussing other things with a fantastic panel that I've brought for you, and I'll introduce them straight after this.
Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Here we have it, Stu, Henry, the old reliable, back on All for United. Well, Stu's only been gone a day, but that's too long anyway. Hope you guys are well. I'll go through some comments quickly. Niall saying, evening, big up all of you, hope you're well. Thank you for joining us, Niall. Sakib, I hope I pronounced that right. Yes, now James, indeed. Fox's Focus, big up everyone, hope you're all well. Very nice for Leicester fans to be greeting us, I suppose, since we're going to be nabbing their manager off them soon. But we'll get into this question first, actually, before we go into the main topic. The question to all of you: if Ollie was to resign / sacks, can you see any possible new manager guiding Man United to a top 4 finish? I'll come to you first, Emery.
Yeah, I do. I know people might disagree, but I do. I see a top coach organising this team. Let's be honest, with what's happened today as well, the players are just doing what they want at the moment. It seems like they've got free reign over what they do at the club. There needs to be a sense of putting them in their place and them realising who they're actually playing for rather than going rogue. And that says to me, and people might disagree, but that says to me that they've lost respect for the manager. If you're posting stuff about other clubs on your social media, that says to me you've lost all respect for the man that is in charge of you. And there's a huge issue going on, and I do honestly believe that if someone comes in, I mean, it's obviously subjective because we could be well away from top 4 and not mathematically possible before there's a change of management. I think that it could get to that stage. As I know you mentioned it a few weeks ago, James, and you could be right in that sense. But if a manager came in now, do I think we get top 4? Absolutely. But we all know that this club's just rotten from top to bottom, so we probably won't. Fair enough.
Stu, I know you're a big advocate for Ollie. I know a lot of the blame for you is on the players. Obviously, we'll talk about the Lingard situation once we've talked about the shares thing. But what's your opinion on the question?
Yeah, it's a good question, really. I think Henry, to be fair, has been consistent in his viewpoints. He's never wavered. I've been the same. I've always been consistent, and I've never wavered. And I think that's what All for United offers: consistent balance, not bias, and not agendas. But I tend to agree with Henry on this. I am a staunch Ollie fan. But I'm an historical fan. I'm an old fogey. So I was there in Barcelona where Ollie popped it into the roof of the net, and I can't tell you what it meant to everybody who was in the stadium at that time. And do you get a sense of loyalty based, not just based on that, but other games and other goals that he's contributed for the club? I guess you do. When you've seen somebody that you admire wilt and almost disappear as a man, as a human being, it's quite hard to take, really, whether you know him personally or whether you don't. And I think that's what's happened to him this season. I think there's a multitude of reasons as to why that's happened. And I think player responsibility is a huge issue for me. It really is, because whenever I, play, even today, even on a kickabout on a Monday or a Sunday night, it's my responsibility if I make the mistake. And there are fans out there that just brush that under the carpet. Would we get top 4 with a different manager? You probably would, and the reason for that is you get this influx of any club that has a new manager. They always play well for 14 or 15 games, and that's what you would need to push yourself to that kind of echelon that we're looking at. And there's nothing to say that we won't go through that, but there appears to be a bit of an issue in the club at the minute, and Ollie's got to be ruthless. And I know you want to talk about Lingard later, but and we can do. But Ollie's got to be ruthless now, and if he feels that there are certain players in there, there's certain elements of the club that aren't pulling towards him, you kind of got to shift them to the side and bring in the guys that are really going to be playing for you. So I don't disagree with Henry. I think Henry's right. But I just want to see Ollie succeed. I just feel that he's not going to succeed, but I would like him to succeed. And I think that's the division within the fan base at the moment. And I'm kind of a bit tired of going onto Twitter or social media and seeing an agenda every day. It's like a broken record. I just wish they'd give up, because it's not going to make any difference. And I think we all know this tonight. Until we can't mathematically get top 4, I think that'll be the sticking point for Ollie. So, yeah, so that's my view on it, really.
Yeah, I sort of echo that. There's nothing. I think a lot of United fans would like nothing more than to see Ollie going to show lead this club to glory, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But hope that answered your question, Niall. We'll move on anyway. The main body of the episode that we're going for. The Glazers have made some Class B shares available for fans in a project that they're doing with the Man United Supporters Trust. It's worth noting these are non-voting shares. Obviously, the Class B shares are probably the most basic shares you can get, really.
No, they'll come with voting rights.
They do.
Okay.
Class B shares are voting right.
The Glazers are not like other owners. They make their B shares the priority ones.
Yeah, Class A shares are non-voting. Class B shares are voting.
It's all very sus with them.
It's very strange, but Class B will come with voting rights. How much influence those shares will have?
Not enough.
It's probably not enough. It's from what I read, and no, but by the way, it's not written in stone. It's not set in stone yet exactly how it's going to work. But my understanding is it's 10 million. It's a tranche of 10 million Class B shares, which have a voting rights. But when you look at the actual amount of shares that are going on, I think it amounts to about 1/4% of the actual club ownership itself. And if and fair play to Must, if Must are heading this up, my worry would be the types of shares that you, me, and every other fan might be able to accumulate. You might only be able to accumulate 50 shares, depending on what your financial situation is. If there are Must members that can afford, 1 million shares, they'll probably buy those 1 million shares. But it all depends on how Must and the club structure it. It's a very complicated subject to shares, exceptionally complicated. And it's a complicated structure, as Henry's quite pointed out, because normally Class A shares in clubs give you voting stock. But if you cast your mind back to when Manchester United originally floated, shares were open to ordinary supporters like us three. So you could go and buy a share. I think they were about £3.50 at the time. Something like that. Yeah, that's right. I think they were about £3.50. They weren't a huge amount of money. And but what that gave you was a ballot paper that came to your home, and you would vote then. It didn't give you a voice. And I'm sure that Must will be desperately trying to get a voice. I know they're desperately trying to get a supporters group advisory board together, aren't they? But exactly how much this will give us, I think it's a kind of a watch this space. However, look, the flip side of this is whatever we think about the Glazers, and we're all on the same page with the Glazers, actually, which is great. We don't want them owning Manchester United. But actually what we think about the Glazers, Must wrote to them with this 10-point plan of what must be done. And fair enough, they have acted upon this 10-point plan. Now, whether or not it gives us exactly what we require, unlikely. But they've acted upon it. And this is the biggest issue. It's always an issue when an organisation like Must grabs the Glazers by the throat and say, we want you to do this. They can do a version of it. Henry quite rightly pointed out, they can do a version of it. And I think this is a version of it. And they will have a look at take-up, I would imagine, see what the take-up is, see what types of share owners you get in, see the types of people they're against, and they'll make a decision whether they allow another tranche of shares to come available, or they'll just keep it at that. But if they put 0.25%, I think Apex thinks it's half of 1%. Even if it is, there's not much difference between a quarter 1% and half of 1%. If they do, fans still own a percentage of Manchester United. That's the key element. They said they would make shares available for fan ownership. We would own, or fans would own, part of Manchester United. So you need to think about that. But it's
minimal damage though. That's
kind of my point. Yeah, it is minimal damage. Exactly.
It's making sure that the fans are appeased regardless of because again their ownership of the club has been a mess. Honestly, in the last 15 since they took over in 2005 fully. I know they've been shareholders since 2003, I think it was, and they obviously bought them up. But ever since that, this is the first kind of communication. This year is the first kind of communication they've actually had with the fans properly, and it's this to me. I know Must will be appeased, and I'm not gonna dig into all that stuff because I think that they Must would roll over a little bit easier than most fans would. And I know because they're getting the shares, they can't really go and turn around and say it's not enough because they didn't ask for a certain percentage. They asked for
true.
shares.
That's true.
So they can't turn around and say we wanted this percentage, we're not getting it. But there's a problem with the ownership now in the sense that they'll try and shut this fan group up. But there's more pressing issues than shares at the moment that the Glazers are obviously putting on the back foot. And
that's what I think.
The PR machine is in overdrive at the moment with the Glazers in terms of the footballing side of things and the background, because the recent results of how much the debt is at the moment has just come out again, and they're trying to put that on the back foot, and it's all a PR spin at the moment with them. The problem with the fan base is when they're not happy with with what's going on the pitch, then the things that are going wrong off the pitch start to come to light again. And I'm not criticizing fans saying, we should be protesting when we're in a Champions League final. Not that's realistic anytime soon. But there's a situation now where things aren't going well on the pitch. And as soon as that happens, fans are unhappy with that. And then they turn on the ownership, rightfully so, because of the last few years. So, but this isn't good enough. It's not good enough for an ownership that claim that they want to have a relationship with the fans, because they don't. It's taken them a few months anyway to get this in place, and I'm sure they were going through every single method to make sure it was damage limitation. That's probably why it's taken so long, because most other owners would have had it done within a couple of months. But this doesn't change anything, really. They'll give a few shares, which, again, they might have voting rights, but they won't have enough to have any sort of say on what happens at the club. And hearing that the great Ed Woodward is going to be in a consultancy role at the club, it's not good enough. Not good enough.
See, this is where the Glazers have got a chance to really cement a relationship if they want a relationship with the fans. We've been owned by these clowns for 16 years or something along those lines. And they need a football board. We all know they need a football board of footballing people. They can have their Woodwards and their Richard Arnolds, the commercial guys, on a separate board. They can be an ownership board, so to speak, or commercial board. But when they need footballing people, whoever they may be, they need a very, very small board of Ollie being able to go to the board, the football board first, before the football board then goes to the main board, and that's more important at the minute than shares. Henry's absolutely spot on. There's more needed than just shares at the minute. We don't need that. They've got to sort the club out first and foremost.
Timing's convenient, isn't it, Stu?
Yeah,
very convenient right now.
It is exceptionally convenient. You've got the issues around the stadium. They've said they're going to put another 20 or 30 million pounds into the stadium. They're looking at planning permission to fill in some extra corners and things of that nature. So everything at the minute is convenient. And yet they've come out. They said they're happy with the, with the finances. I kind of agree with you, Henry, on the debt, but I don't mind it so much really, because Manchester United could always service the debt, so it's not a problem. And most businesses, I'm talking big businesses like Apple and that, Amazon, they always carry a certain amount of debt. It's cash flow more than anything really, so it's not too much of an issue. But they're not utilising what they should be utilising within the club, and it would be better for Woodward and his cronies to take that next step up and have an executive board and then a footballing board, and that would sort out the biggest issues and the disconnects that we've seen going. And then maybe, and I could be wrong here, and maybe it's heart, I don't know, but maybe if there was a better connection between Ollie and the board, and he was better supported from a football point of view, i.e. somebody at the board saying, look, we need to bring in a Moulenstein, hypothetically, we need to bring in a more experienced coach to work with you, then that could be what Ollie needs. Or you've got to consider, if a new manager comes in, is he just going to fall under the same bus that Ollie's going to fall on because of the disconnect between the board and the club? So I think there's a lot more to it at the minute. It is a bit convenient, yeah.
That's why we'll never have top managers. Just quickly, that's why we'll never have top managers in this period, because they want a say in what happens at the club. Conte would have wanted a say. Mourinho wanted a say.
Yes.
And look how that went down.
Exactly, yeah.
And they don't want anyone that's going to be combative and aggressive in their management style and in how they determine what happens with the playing side of things. They don't want anyone like that. So it's going to be another yes man again. And it
won't work.
Well, yeah, it won't work. It will never work, because yes men. If you're a nice guy in football, you look at the top managers. Do you think Pep and Klopp and Tuchel, do you think they're already nice guys when it comes to decision making to their boards? They're probably arseholes. They're probably horrible. They're tough negotiators, and they want one thing, and that is what they want for the squad, and they get it usually with the ownership that's with them at the moment. So there's going to be a problem in the coming years, and I think if I think what's going to happen, which is what James mentioned about a month ago, which was that they wait until top four is off the table and then they hire someone else interim, or they wait to the end of the season.
Yeah, there'll be a Carrick-Quaid.
We lose Ronaldo and Varane and Pogba and Bruno think about leaving because they want Champions League football. The Glazers will be done then. It's over. You think the Super League was bad, but if we lose, having had Ronaldo in the side for a year, you think we lose with these players? I know this might sound a bit extreme and it doesn't represent the views of other people, but the fans will pull that stadium to pieces. I'm almost in no doubt. And the Glazers will be done then. So they're, for businessmen that claim to be very smart and they've got a lot of money, I know it's from their dad, a lot of it, but they've got a lot of money. They are surprisingly stupid at times when it comes to, they don't realize the power of fans. They don't understand it. They don't get it because they don't care about it.
No, you see, and Hammer will be able to tell us a bit more about this, but the NFL, although if fans turn against clubs and club owners in the NFL, you very rarely will they give up an NFL franchise. I think if you buy it, that's almost a golden goose, isn't it? It's a golden ticket. Hammer will be able to tell us a bit more about that. And with Manchester United, it's a little bit different. They've got the golden goose in world football. They've got the biggest cash cow going, self-made cash cow going. And they've owned it for 16 years. But they've got to turn the screw now and they've got to be, ruthless, and they've got to be understanding. But Ollie, at the minute, is fighting for his life, and some of it's his own fault. We know all that. He's made plenty of mistakes. A lot of it's the players' fault because they just can't be arsed sometimes. But a lot of it is the Glazers' fault because they haven't given Ollie all the tools he needs. We need a proper director of football in there, or a proper footballing board. And I think Apex made a good point about, under the Glazers, hardly any managers would be successful. And I kind of agree with that. I really do. And I always wonder, and it's never been said, but I always wonder whether Sir Alex realised that at that time of his resignation, whether he saw the writing on the wall and thought, you know what, I'm just going to be, his own reputation, his own legacy might come undone if he stayed. So I don't know. It's just something to think about. It
certainly is. Yeah, you got to think he would have seen this coming. He was at the club in its golden era, and there's a notable shift between on the pitch and off the pitch as soon as he came in. Really, wasn't there? But yeah. Anyway, well, actually, it's funny that Henry mentioned sort of the fans coming to tear the stadium down, because I just wanted to quickly touch on the news that some arrests have been made from the protests. Now, obviously, so there's been arrests. I think 5 of the 18 have been charged. I'm assuming with trespassing, because they went on the pitch. But it's a bit of a touchy subject. But Henry, what do you make of that?
Well, when it comes to legal matters, it's always difficult to make extra comments on a case that's obviously ongoing. So I'm going to try not to delve into it. I don't want to delve into it from any sort of legal standpoint whatsoever. I don't want to do that. But when it comes to the decision making of the police, again, it's kind of been put on the back burner by the media, not really put out there that much that it's happened. The Glazers, it seemed for the last few months, were, it was almost like, okay, the protest was fine, whatever, it's happened, it's over, it's done. But they've clearly been in someone's ear saying, I'm not happy with that. We've got to stamp our authority on this, or else it will happen again. It's wrong, in my opinion. I get people trespassing. I understand that. I mean, you get people on the pitch every now and then. You get streakers on the pitch and whatever. But it was heat of the moment stuff for owners that were about to ruin the club. Honestly, about to destroy the club and destroy the legacy of the last 150 years, not just of our own club, but in football in general. And they were the head of it as well. They were the leaders of it, which I think the context is very key in these things. And people are forgetting what actually happened. And if you go over the timeline of events in that and see who the key people were in instigating the Super League, it was majority of it, 75% of it was the Glazers. They're just money-hungry, greedy shites. and all they want is their bank balance to go up. And there's a huge issue there. When it comes to the arrests, I think must have done the right thing in setting up a fundraiser to help cover the legal costs. And it's ironically the club that are actually shafting the fans now, because there's no way they're not involved in the decision making. As they could say, we don't want any part of it. It's happened, it's over. But it's very interesting that they've gone for football fans. There's a video, obviously, of a policeman punching a football fan when he's on the floor. Oh, I wonder whether that policeman will be arrested and tried. I very highly doubt it, because they think they're up here, policemen. They think they're above everything else that a normal citizen, does. So there's a huge problem with police in this country, but they're anti-football fans. They are, whenever there's trouble, they get the batons out when it's a policeman. Whenever Insulate Britain are sat on top of a police van, please come down. It's all right. It's okay. Same energy would be very nice. Just a thought. That's all. And charging these people is disgusting. While You know, again, before I say this, I'm going to say I don't represent the views of everyone else, just so everyone, people don't get their knickers in a twist. While paedophiles and rapists walk the streets and haven't been arrested, and it's all ongoing investigations, and somebody gets shot, and it's it's taking time. The legal process is taking time, but then they'll go and arrest football fans and charge them with trespassing, and probably try and put them behind bars. It's disgraceful, and Greater Manchester Police, if I'm being honest, should be ashamed of themselves. I hope Andy Burnham has a say in what happens. I hope he gets on the phone and says, "What you're doing here is you're creating a precedent that is dangerous. It's dangerous because if you come after football fans, you've got to go after everyone else. If anyone breaks into a shop, you've got to put them behind bars for more, but it wouldn't happen." So, yeah, there's a huge issue, a deeper issue, which would take hours and hours to go through. But I think it's a disgrace, personally, for any football fan, not just United fans.
It's only football fan. Yeah. I understood the process, and with Henry, by the way, I'm not going to comment on any legal issues. It's not for us to do that. I understood the protest, and I thought it was organised right, but there was a faction, wasn't there, who decided that, for whatever reason, they were going to make it a bit more spicy, with one for the better phrase. I didn't agree with it either. I'll be honest with you. I didn't agree with breaking into the stadium, and if anyone was hurt, ripping a camera off of some poor bloke who was there doing his job. I didn't agree with any of that. But look, when I got onto the pitch, it was quite calm, wasn't it? It was a peaceful protest on the pitch. So, but to get to the pitch and get to something like that, you've got to probably cause a bit of disruption. And I think I'm going to cause it a disruption rather than anything else. And I suppose, to get the biggest game in world football cancelled, if you're a match-going fan who wanted to go and watch it, you'd be absolutely pissed off big time. But the bigger picture has resulted in where we are today, hasn't it? With Carrington being upgraded and Old Trafford being upgraded and shares being made available eventually, and also Ollie's backing in the summer. So a lot's happened on the back of that. The attempted protest of last weekend, they got that all wrong because they labelled it wrong. And if he maybe labelled it differently, he might have got a bit more support. I'm not really sure I agree with all the ridicule he received. He was, he's a fan. Whether whatever people's opinions of him, that's up to them. He's a fan who's tried to do something, it didn't quite work out, and so. But that's just Twitter for you, isn't it? And just people in general will always ridicule and have pointing the finger. I'm a bit on the fence, if I'm honest, about Musk setting up a GoFundMe page or things like that. I think, Henry, you make a good point. There are certain individuals out there that need to be locked up, and they're nowhere near being locked up. And football fans aren't anywhere near as violent as they were in the 70s and the 80s. Trust me. I mean, 70s and the 80s in particular used to be horrible. But sometimes though, if you break the law, I'm just saying, if you break the law, you've got to be held accountable. So I'm not so sure on the financial backing from it. That's just my own personal opinion. I don't speak for anyone else apart from that, just myself. It's just one of those. It's just we don't know how people will see it. I mean, if they've made the arrests, they've made the arrests. I do think if you do something that requires the law to look into it, then you take your chances, I'm afraid, because you tend to know, which side of the law you're on at that time. So I think you take your chances. But look, we had a good stream that day, if I remember. We all got involved with it and we all gave our viewpoints, and it was actually more good out of it has come than harm as it's happened. And so I think you've got to say it's a success. So if they do it again, and they do a protest, they need to make sure that it is peaceful this time, and that there's an end game again, or whatever that end game is. So interesting, but I suppose it had to come, didn't it? People have got to be held accountable. I guess.
The problem with the fans obviously breaking into the ground is it does open a massive can of worms. But there's the more pressing issue is, I know they said the security was compromised. From what I've heard, the stewards were letting the fans into the ground.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Yeah.
So that's very convenient, isn't it? You underfund the security at the ground. Having been this season, and people are, Stu and James, you both understand what Old Trafford's like in terms of it's so outdated. Everything's outdated. The ticketing system is, faulty at times, and it's like something from the 80s or 90s. They're stuck there because they haven't updated the ground since they put some new floodlights in. Oh, fantastic! That's helpful for the fans, isn't it? That's
and
great.
A screen. We've got a screen, haven't we, as well?
and a screen, but they're still missing the most important key parts of updating the ground. That is a fan experience, because there are 75,000 of them there every week, and it's a bit of a shit show, really. That ground, it's becoming. Yeah. You look at the Etihad and the Spurs' new stadium is a shining example of what you can do. And then you look, so Liverpool have just updated their ground. I think they're gonna build extend to one of the stands now, coming up in the next few years. They've already done the main stand as well. We're getting left behind. We're getting left behind, everywhere. And they're more focused on shafting fans than they are on actually giving them a good experience at the ground. There's a few benches outside. That is the best you're going to get in terms of seating and communal area for fans before a game. Are you having a laugh? And they underfund the security. Fans break in and they go, "Oh my God, we need to put a legal case against these fans."
And the other thing about that, most of the security, and certainly the stewards, are volunteers anyway. They do it for
don't
nothing.
Give a shit about the owners. They don't like them. No. And the reality is, none of the fans like the owners. So they've got a problem where everyone hates them and they're underfunding the security at the ground. And then the fans break in and manage to get a game called off. And to be honest, if they hadn't broken in, I don't think the game would have been called off. It would have been more difficult.
It would have been probably put back, yeah.
Yeah, it might have been put back a few hours, but it wouldn't have been cancelled. And I get, that they probably shouldn't have done it, but there's two sides to it, where if they hadn't, then I think it's unlikely that the game would have been postponed or cancelled. I think some good has come out of it, but I'm beyond these owners. They try to do something good, and then they go and shit all over the fans again.
Yeah, which is about right.
A couple of days later. So
story of the Glazers, isn't it?
Proven they don't care. They don't care. They never will care. They're businessmen. And I know we mentioned about Apple and Microsoft, all these giants and whatever. Yeah. The problem is they're running us like we're one of those. We're not. We're a football club. I don't see 15,000 fans outside of Apple cheering, waiting, the next iPad's out. I know they queue, but you don't see them celebrating when, oh my God, it's the iPhone 14's out. I'm going to go and, take my banner and support Apple. It's, that's not how it works. So they understand business. They don't understand the personal side of things. You think that slug, Avram Glazer, you think he goes out much? Look at the state of him.
Oh, I don't care.
Doesn't look like a very sociable guy, does he? So I'm not sure he cares about fans.
No, so, I think he likes his Aston Martin DBX too much.
Yeah,
he looks like he likes feet a bit too much, if I'm being honest. But that's just my personal.
I feel ill now.
Yeah, cheesy feet.
Well, we'll move on then. We'll move back onto the pitch. Players and the like. Obviously, we mentioned earlier that Jesse Lingard he reposted a goal from when he was at West Ham that West Ham had obviously posted on his story. It's caused uproar. Personally, obviously, we'll discuss this. Personally, I don't think there's much wrong with it, but there's also been talks. I think it was yesterday it came out that Solskjaer had a crisis meeting with 6 senior players about the direction of the team and this, that, and the other. Now, if that's true, is this a signal that it's the sort of the beginning of the end for Ollie? If he's turning to the players for suggestions, I'll come to you first, Henry. Well, go on, Stu. Sorry.
Sorry, Henry, did you want to?
No, crack on, mate. I'll go after. Don't worry.
If I'm sorry, I just laugh at that because it just winds me up. It's like I view it as, wow, manager talks to players. Big fucking deal. Wow, really? Look, if Ollie doesn't talk to his senior players, Sir Alex used to do it all the time. He always used to consult Giggs, Schmeichel, Ince, Hughes, always used to consult the main players. All the very, very best managers consult their best players. Their players have been in and around the game, are at the top of their game and understand football. You talk about it all the time. And if you are considering doing a system change, or you're considering changing, shaping certain parts of the pitch and certain times of the pitch, then you do speak. You have to speak to your players. I'm sorry, do the press think, more importantly, do our fans think that we go training and they don't speak, nobody laughs, nobody jokes, nobody talks? No, Ronaldo, he'll have a suggestion, he'll get Ollie and say, look, why don't we try this? Ollie's not going to turn around and say, I'm the manager, you'll do what I say. He'll look at it and say, explain, expand, tell me you're thinking. And then they'll look at it and they'll work through it. They'll get their analytics department to look at what he's talking about and things like that. It's an absolute international week, load of bollocks. Wow, big deal. Ollie speaks to his players. And as for Jesse, 3 or 4 years ago, he was an absolute clown on Instagram and Twitter, wasn't he? An absolute clown. Every other day, he'd be posting some utter shite, and he'd look like a child, rather than a professional footballer. And we all said, privately or to our mates, people should get hold of him. Mourinho should get hold of him and talk to him about social media and advise him that you just, that's not how a Manchester United player operates. He never would have done that under Fergie. If social media was rampant under Fergie, United players probably wouldn't have been on social media because there's no way Fergie would allow it. If you're a junior going up through the Fergie years, you had to wear black football boots until you made it into the first team. Fergie was so strict, and Ollie's got to go back to that. Players need reining in. I'm not just talking about Lingard. I'm talking about players in general. They need reining in. They need reminding what they do and what, I'm not even going to say whether they're privileged or not. You play for Manchester United Football Club. You play for the fans. You play for, the badge. You play for the history and the honour of the club. And don't look and start acting like a dick because things aren't going your way. Oh, he's back. He's back. Because
I've acted to Carpix Internet, I reckon.
Yeah, because things aren't going your way. And if he wants to go to West Ham in the summer, go to West Ham in the summer. But I don't really care about what they do on social media. Paul Pogba does his hairstyles. I don't really care about that, if I'm perfectly honest. It just doesn't bother me. It's all sensationalism, isn't it? Let's be honest. Everything is. Let's just wrap it up. Let's make a big thing out of this. Nah, not for me.
Yeah, I think that's right. Sorry, James. I think that's probably fair. You shouldn't really bother what players do on social media. But I think the problem is, and I know I might bang on about this a little bit. If that was Paul Pogba or a player that wasn't English, how do you think the media would react to that? If he posted a goal that he maybe scored at Juventus that they posted on this day in 2014, Paul Pogba scored a worldie. If he reposted that, how do you think the media would react? They would go absolutely ballistic. He wants to leave. He's an arsehole. He hates the club. I've seen his family took a shit on the middle of the pitch and bollocks, absolute bollocks. It's a disgrace. And the problem is, none of this should be a problem, really. I think the timing of it is horrendous again. It's really bad after the news came out yesterday and today that he's not going to sign a contract. Talks are broken down, and he will leave on a free. And I think posting that today, it's not great, especially just after the manager's press conference where he said there's an update coming out from United saying, Jesse's going to play a key part, and then he's reposting a goal that he scored at West Ham last season, and replying to Rice with, I don't know, I think it was some like eye emojis or something like that. I don't know. And there's again, the timing is awful. It really is. It's so bad. And as I've said before, Stu, you were right in terms of Ferguson. He was very strict on these things.
Oh yeah.
I think Solskjaer has just lost respect of the players now. I think they simply don't believe in him as a manager anymore. When you've got this squad, I think he's done a good job in terms of building the side back up. Don't get me wrong, but he has spent over 400 million, and to spend over 400 million, and then a report come out today, or whether it's briefing or I don't know, saying that we don't want to give Lingard to West Ham in January because they're considered a direct top 4 rival. Top 4 rival with this squad.
No, I know. That's the problem, isn't it?
We should be winning. We should be going for the league with this team. The team is good enough to go and challenge for the Premier League. And
the interesting thing is, last weekend or 2 weekends ago now, where are we? We played 2 weeks ago, didn't we? I've completely lost because I fucking hate international football. If we'd beaten City, we'd have still been in the mix quite comfortably. With what's happened results-wise.
There wasn't any belief in that. That's the problem.
No, there wasn't. And so I said last night on last night's show that I want to see him be bold tomorrow. I want to see him go in with a 4-3-3 and give Donny a go. He's got nothing to lose, has he? You've got nothing to lose by playing Donny and Matic and Bruno. You've got absolutely nothing to lose. But I did say, but I did. It will be, it has come out. You see, Donny's trained well. Yeah. Again, it's all horseshit. That is.
We've been training for the last year, and apparently he's well every week for the last year as well.
Yeah, it's all horseshit. So it looks like Donny's going to get a start, I would say, and I think that's the brief, isn't it, on that one? But I think he should flip De Gea for Henderson. That was our big point last night because we just don't look. We're not solid, are we, at the back? Let's be honest. We got a bit of stick. We got a bit of stick. What were we clueless with? We last night, James, I think, was one of the comments. But you're absolutely right. He doesn't come off his line. So that's what I'd like to see him to be absolutely ruthless tomorrow.
The hair reminds me. So in my youth days, there was a kid that I was competing to get into the team with as a goalkeeper, and he used to. This is quite entertaining, and he won't ever see this, but he used to stand on his line, waving his arms whenever a striker came through one-on-one on goal. He'd just stand on his line and wave his arms. And it was like, what on earth are you doing? But when I see a professional keeper not coming for crosses and standing off, he's a great shot stopper.
He is brilliant.
Shot stoppers probably ever, if I'm being honest, in terms of his reflexes, especially, he's 30 years old now and he hasn't lost anything. And that's a massive credit to him. But he doesn't come off his line and control the game, and it's a bit nervy as a defender having someone behind you that isn't going to be in a close proximity if you make a slight error.
Absolutely. That's what I was saying last night. It's exactly what I was saying last night. I'll be looking for you as my goalkeeper to cut my yardage in half that I've got to get back. That's what I'll be looking at.
Edge of the box. And if you get lobbed by a worldie shot at some point, it happens. What? Take your hat off to the player that hit it. So there's a problem. Obviously, there's a problem with that. But, all this stuff about, Van der Beek's going to start and Lingard's going to play a more important role. And it's all coming out at a time when it's too late now. It's too late. He should have done this at the start of the season when he had the chance. He's lost the players in terms of Luke Shaw, the comments he made a couple of days ago about
I did see that.
He hasn't been given a fair chance, basically.
Yeah.
That's really not good on the manager. And Bruno, Ollie's still learning on the job, especially considering the pressure he's under. I know managers learn on the job, but considering the pressure he's under now, worst timing ever.
We'll see. just how ruthless Ollie can be. Won't we at 3 o'clock tomorrow?
But if he goes to a 5 at the back again, I don't hold any hopes for us whatsoever.
Waste of time against Watford, 5 at the back. Waste of time.
The 5 at the back system, again, it was very convenient after fans had just turned around and said that they disliked Antonio Conte and they didn't want him. And then some fans had turned around and going, oh, give Solskjaer time. He changed to a 5 at the back to save his job. That's what he did. Correct.
He did, yeah.
And it didn't do anything against City. It was worse than the Liverpool game.
We said on the tactical preview, go back to back 4, didn't we, against City, James? We advocated a back 4 again. Watford will play a 4-1-4-1, I think. I think that's how their system is. Sissoko's their holding player, and a 4-3-3 with Matic. If Matic is disciplined, see what Donny can do with a bit more advanced role, and Bruno in his usual role. But you've got to then choose your kind of wide players. It's got to have to be Sancho and Rashford alongside Ronaldo. It's going to have to be those. And then we'll just see what happens. But if we should beat Watford tomorrow, and we'll just see how he goes. If I was Ollie now, I'd just be looking at Watford first. I wouldn't be looking ahead to Atalanta. I'll be looking at Watford.
Villarreal, isn't it, away?
Oh, sorry, it's Villarreal away. Yeah, sorry, apologies.
Yeah,
Villarreal, yeah. I won't be thinking about them. I'd just be thinking about Watford. And then I'd be, then I'd move to Villarreal, get my analytics team onto Chelsea and just get through these 3 games as a collective unit and as a club. Hope they all pull together. The players, the coaches, the fans, everybody, we can all pull together and get through and see where we come when we, at the other side of Chelsea and see where we are. I think that's what we've got to do, really.
I worry that the season's going to get away from us by then. And
it could do if we're not careful.
Yeah. The problem is now, yes, it's crunch time for the manager, but there's also an issue in the sense that the players haven't been playing. When we lost games last season, the players were still determined. You could see them running. You could see them making the effort. But I haven't seen that this season. And maybe at the start of the season a little bit, but in the last few games, I haven't seen that. Even against Atalanta, some of the players were kind of wavering in their attempts to run 20 yards.
We were lazy. Yeah, we were lazy against Atalanta. There were players on there that were lazy. Luke Shaw doesn't look fit to me.
He doesn't. He looks, again, he's had 1 or 2 good seasons since he's been at United. And last season was great, don't get me wrong. But it's consistency. And I'm starting to lose belief in him as a player. I'm starting to lose belief in Maguire. The captaincy is obviously weighing heavy on his head at the moment. But if you can't handle the pressure at Manchester United as a captain or as a player, you shouldn't be anywhere near the squad.
No, you shouldn't.
And then I'm sorry, the celebration for England. That is an absolute disgrace. I'm sorry. You put your fingers in your ears and then your family come out on social media saying you're silencing the haters. You're silencing the haters against fucking Albania at home.
I know, Albania.
Do it again in big games.
Captain. This is the leader in a defence which has conceded 27 goals in 13 games this season.
I think this is if I'm correct in saying this is the worst defensive record in terms of consecutive games without a clean sheet.
No, it is.
Like 40 years.
Yeah, it is. And it's a Henderson effect. I'm pretty convinced of it.
I think it's Maguire as well, though. Maguire's
not been on his game. Yeah,
they're on a high from the Euros, and then he looks like him and Shaw look like they've lost all their confidence and all their belief in themselves.
Yeah, they are.
And Maguire's little mafia family as well. I'm sorry, they're a little mafia, those lot, and they come out of the woodwork every time he has a reasonable performance. They come out of the woodwork, and he made a comment. I can't remember what game it was after what game. But he said, I don't focus on stats in games. And then he's reposting stats after we lost to Sheffield United last year. And this season he's reposting stats about himself and liking stuff. Seriously, This is the captain. He's one of the most boring people to listen to. I can't imagine. Sorry, I can't imagine someone with 4 relegations in his career telling me how to play football. I never got relegated in my 4-year senior career. I never got relegated once, and he would stand there and go, you should be doing better. I go, who the fuck are you?
James is going to get relegated on his Sunday night football. Fucking waste of space they are.
You keep your mouth shut, Stu.
well, have you won yet?
No, but that's not the point.
No.
You got Cardiff going to get relegated as well.
It's a problem within the club where you've got a captain who has never been a leader before. He's never won anything in his career.
That's what you need is a good leader. Yeah,
you need. I wouldn't even give it to someone like Bruno. I wouldn't. I know he's got passion and desire. I would give it to, even if it's. I know Varane speaks minimal English, but you listen to a guy that has won multiple Champions Leagues, a World Cup, multiple league titles. These guys are the ones that are supposed to be, taking the team to the next level.
The interesting thing about a skipper, though, I mean, to be honest, Henry, I never used to pay a blind bit of notice to mine when I was playing because I was at it as well. I was the one giving it. We all were, and we were a group of bad winners, terrible winners. We were. If we won 3-0 and we could have won 5-0, we were arguing about why we didn't win 5-0. Terrible. And I'm an even worse loser. I play on a Monday night. It's called Dads v Dads, right? And all you do, you pay up. It's just a bunch of dads. You don't know who you're playing against. You get told your shit. I go down. We got beat Monday night. I was fucking livid. I wouldn't shake anyone's hand. I strolled off with my head down. I was fucking fuming. We lost by 1 goal. I hate losing. God, I can't avoid it. So I didn't shake anyone's hand, which is poor form, by the way. You should shake hands, win or lose. Yes, James, you are right to shake your hand. I went off like a strut. Honestly, I was like a little kid, stropped on. And the good thing about Dads v Dads, it's a complete mixture of age groups. I mean, I'm one of the oldest there, 51. There's a couple of players a bit older than me, 53. But then we're playing kids your age, 23, 24. And it's a really good mix. It's an average standard, I'd say, really. You get some really good players, some bad players. But yeah, and that's my problem. And this is why I'm so passionate about player responsibility, because that's how I am. That's everything that I am is about. It's your fault. You're the one that made the mistake. Not the manager, not the coaches, not Wan-Bissaka. You've made the error. So deal with it. And I always say, by the way, it's up to you. It's up to you, John. Sorry, mate. It's up to you to play your way back into form. So if you're out of form, it's down to you. It's only you that can play. I mean, you know yourself, Henry, when you're in goal. If you've got a fucking squirmy one and you think to yourself, that's not happening next week. It won't happen next week. Exactly. You do everything you can to. And our players don't do it. And that's my issue with our players. That's why I don't like some fans giving them an easy ride. It's all Ollie's fault. It's everybody's fault. So,
but the problem is, though, with a captain of a big club like that, like United or any top club, when shit goes sideways, they front up to the media. They're supposed to front up to the media.
Yeah.
And he has been PR. He's not the smartest guy. Let's be clear. He has been PR trained to within an inch of his life, where he sits there and goes, "We've had a good training session. It's been all right this week. Yeah, we want to bounce back." I don't want that from no fan wants that. They want to be someone who's personable, someone who sits there and goes, "We are genuinely sorry for what we did at the weekend. It wasn't good enough for the club. It was a disgrace. We need to do this better. We need to do this better. Here's how we're going to show the fans what we can do."
Exactly.
And he doesn't do that. He just sits there and it's like you could put a corpse in that position and you would probably get the same amount out of an interview with someone that cannot speak than with Harry Maguire, because you know what you're going to get with him. It's going to be you could write a script before he does the interview and go, okay, here's what he's going to do in this 3 minutes. Here's what he's going to say, and every single thing would be right. Every single thing would be included on what you've written in terms of what he says, and it's just he's leading Cristiano Ronaldo. He is leading. He is leading. He is leading David De Gea. He's leading all of these players into battle on the pitch, and they're probably thinking, "What on earth have I come into to stand here and listen to this monotone shit voice before a game, who basically says, well, just don't go and lose 7-0, guys. It'll be all right." Yeah, brilliant. That's our club captain. Who as soon as he came in, was made captain. Within 2 or 3 months?
Yeah, he was done straight away, wasn't he?
I think he will go down as one of the worst captains we've ever had.
We bought the Leicester captain, remember? That's who he was, the Leicester skipper. Sorry, James, we've digressed.
We did, yeah.
Was he even the Leicester captain?
I don't know whether he was. I think it's Schmeichel.
The Leicester skipper? I can't remember. I thought he was. I can't remember.
It might have been him, but I thought Schmeichel was captain.
He was captain for a bit, Schmeichel, wasn't he? Yeah.
And then when Evans came in, and he's got a role in that, whether it's vice captaincy or whatever. But
something like that, yeah.
Again, 80 million Great British pounds for this.
No, he wasn't
man.
Skipper.
Yeah, it must have been.
Thanks for putting me right, John. Appreciate that, mate. Cheers. I don't pay attention to other clubs, mate.
Just 80 million Great British pounds for this piece of garbage.
I thought you were going to call him a beast then.
Roy Keane was spot on after Albania game.
Yeah,
what on earth is wrong with him? What on earth is wrong with him to do that celebration? No other player would have done that celebration in that situation, having witnessed what we've witnessed in the last few weeks.
I'm going to do that celebration if I score Sunday evening. I'm going to do that celebration.
If you haven't had a terrible week where you've been thumped every week and you're not 6-0 down, you do it. It's fine.
Well, I'm just going to do it.
I'm just going to do it.
Stu, do the celebration if you land a funny joke on Uncut. That'd be good.
Well, I never land a funny joke on Uncut, do I? Let's be honest.
You do. Come on, give yourself some credit. You're the best one there. Star of the show.
Are you on Uncut this week?
Yeah, I might be. It depends if you are. If you are, then
I'm doing it. I've had the nod.
Of course, I'll be on then.
Yeah, I've had the nod.
It's an exclusive club that you're not invited to. So
yeah, man. I am so gutted and disappointed, as you can see by my face.
Yeah, you look disappointed.
Absolutely devastated.
You'd be good on Uncut, to be fair.
I'm good, man. I'm good.
You are.
There you go.
Yeah, John, they're not that good, mate. Honestly, I promise you, pal, they're not that good. What you want to do, John, is get yourself back, and James needs the help on a Sunday evening by the sounds of it. So get help his team.
I don't think John would ever want to play five-a-side with me, but you never know. Strange things have happened. But I think we'll probably end it there before this varies into complete bedlam.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you to the pair of you for joining us. Quick summary: we've got shares, not that many. Lingard was sort of out of order, sort of not, and Harry Maguire shouldn't be our captain. Yeah, that's about it.
And we should play a 4-3-3 tomorrow.
We should. And Stu, don't beat Stu, otherwise he's going to smack you. But yeah, on that note, I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, be sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the post-match with Mark tomorrow. Unfortunately, we are going to lose because Mark's hosting it. That's just how it goes. So don't blame me for that. Blame him. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for Uncut. Be sure to subscribe so you know when they're out. And yeah, until then, we'll see you next time.